I guess let's go ahead and get started. So, my name is CCNeverender. I don't know if we've met before, but nice to meet you, Packle.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. So we liked getting runners in to the interview booth, and we like to talk to them, and we like to use interview portions in the video so that it's like the runners are kind of helping to tell the story. So it's not just like us by ourselves. We're trying to involve the community and stuff. I was told that you were actually thinking about making your own video for world record history.
Yeah, it was a possibility. Like I have a lot of projects I have in mind. I have that. There's stuff like segmented runs I want to do with the community as well.
Right.
It just with a lot of my play right now, I haven't really had a chance to.
I gotcha.
It was more so like an idea that I wanted to do.
Yeah, we get that a lot. Where we approach communities and we're like, hey, we want to do a video about your game, and they're like, oh, dude, we want to do a video about our game. And it's like, yeah, I bet everyone wants to. But
yeah, ever since somebody saw his videos, people were like, "Oh, this is cool. We want to do that," but it's a time commitment, and just don't have the time for most of the time.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I think that's what the best thing we bring to the table is that like we're a dedicated team. We put aside our own time to do this kind of stuff. So it's like you don't have to have time, but we have time. And we have.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate it. I know the community appreciates it too.
Yeah.
Or will appreciate it.
I hope so. Oh, that's sort of one of our goals, or one of our keystones, or what's the word I'm looking for? One of our main objectives. There we go. Is that anytime we make a video, is that we want to make it so that the community appreciates it, and wants to promote it and stuff like that. Because I think that just benefits everybody.
Definitely.
But anyways, let's focus on you now.
Oh god.
So tell me how you got into Tony Hawk games and stuff like that.
God. So I would say about it was like 2004, 2005. I went to a friend's house and he had Tony Hawk's Underground. That was my first game.
Oh wow.
And I was like, "What is this?" He's like, "Yeah, it's a skateboarding game." I'm like, "They're skateboarding games?" And he's like, "Yeah, try it out." I just grind around New Jersey for the longest time, just doing stupid. And I kind of fell in love with it right then and there. I picked it up a few days later at Family Video, which is pretty much like a Blockbuster here.
Yeah.
And I just played the game casually and enjoyed the hell out of it. As for speedrunning, it wasn't until a few years back when I was kind of in a lull period about what I wanted to do next for a speedrun. Because it was sometime after Ocarina of Time when I decided to put down that game for a while that I wanted another game to play, something brand new and fresh. And I looked over my shelf and I was like, I want to play this. So I played through it again. I'm like, I wanted a speedrunning community. Then I looked and I saw there was a little bit of a small speedrun community of about maybe a dozen people at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just picked up the game. I didn't even look at the world record video. I just kind of ran it on my own. And I looked at the world record video later and I was like, oh, okay, so same route. So at least I got that going for me. And it just went from there. I played on GameCube for a little while. Got a pretty decent time on GameCube. And then I learned that there was a PC version, picked up the PC version, got better times, and the rest is history.
Okay. So speaking of stuff, we were looking around and we were doing some research into what our next game is going to be, and one of the games we looked into was Pokemon Gold, and we see that you had the world record for any percent glitchless any percent according to speedrun.com.
That is inaccurate. I think the highest I got was like 6.
Yeah, I think that
really
there's some either runs that are miscategorized or older runs were never imported or something. Well,
there's also a thing. Sometimes speedrunners just straight up delete old runs.
I hear that happens sometimes.
It breaks everything in terms of like history.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of runners in the Doug 1 community, especially, that has deleted runs, like old runs, or they just didn't get a specific time. They didn't get a specific time at a certain point, and they just left the community, and then they delete all their times, and it just ruins all of the history. And it's kind of hard to go back and find those videos again because they probably delete the videos as well.
Yeah.
So we're kind of forced to just guesstimate
Remember, or guess.
remember, yeah. But I never had gold record. I wish, but it was like 6th or 7th when I got that really old run.
I just thought it was kind of funny that we're like looking through, and CJ was looking through gold, and he was looking at the leaderboard, like the graph of world records. He's like, "You're not going to believe this. Guess who has the oldest world record in gold?" And I was like, trying to think of people from our lives. I'm like, Worcester, or like, I don't know, some random guy. And he's like, "Nah, it's ThePackle." I was like, "Oh, it's ThePackle."
No, I wasn't that good. It was a side run more than anything.
I mentioned that to Silent Laws, and he said I should also ask you about a Spider-Man world record. Yes.
So for a while, I played Spider-Man 2000 for the PS1. It was also for the N64. It's also on PC, but I specifically played the N64 version because it didn't have the it had like comic cutscenes instead of the FMVs that a PS1 version has, so it was a lot faster. Plus, it was a bit more consistent frame rate, if I remember correctly. And I had the world record for 80% for the longest time until people realized that the PC version was hella fast. Then, actually, I still have the N64 record, so
you do.
I still have that going for me.
I checked recently, yeah. That's kind of funny, though. Okay.
Yeah. PC version, though, is a nightmare to run. Like, I've looked into it. It's one of those games that it's buggy. Modern computers can't run it well. Like, it's very easy to soft lock because your computer runs things too fast. Physics don't work the way they should. So it's a miracle people even get it to run in the first place.
Damn. Okay. Well, I guess we'll wrap back around. Speaking of PC versions, so you picked up Thug. What was the first category, or sort of the first runs? Was it beginner 80% that you decided to focus on?
Yeah, it was beginner 80%.
Why that one out of all the possible categories?
See, it's weird that I chose that because at the time, 80% normal no warp was the main category.
Right.
A lot more people played that, including Piaters. I think TK Malo was there as well, Yib. But for me, I just like the appeal of a slightly shorter run because I just got done with like Ocarina of Time, which I didn't know I Am Wrong Warp, which then it was called what was it called? No, it was called something else. I can't remember off the top of my head. But and also Pokemon Gold, and they were really long runs. So I wanted something pretty short, and at the time, beginner looked a lot shorter. So that's kind of why I went with that for a little while.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I was asking because it seems like the no warp categories, some like normal no warp and even beginner no warp, seem to have a lot more traffic than beginner 80%. In fact, like I think Silent Laws kind of got a couple world records, and then like no one was really chasing after that happened.
Yeah, Silent was pretty much like the only main 80% beginner runner at the time because everyone else was on normal no warp or beginner no warp even. So I was like the only, I think Yeb as well at the time. We were like the only three that really pushed for that category.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so you just wanted a shorter run. Okay. All right. So you wrote a task, and I think you might be the only person who's ever written a task for Tony Hawk. You did the sick one back in like 2010, 12? No, it was not 10. It was I don't know why I thought that.
Like 2016, 2017.
Yeah, why did I think 2010? I'm sorry.
I would say I don't remember that.
No. You did the sick task though.
Yeah, for Thug 1 I did Papa Fog, he did the one for Thug 3.
Okay.
A few years before that even. I think it was 2015 or 2016. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Right.
But he did that, and a few years later, I picked up, the Thug 1 task and wrote that as well. And then about a year and a half after that, I wrote the next version of it, which included bigger glitches that we discovered afterward.
Okay. Do you have any plans to do any more tasks, or is that one of those projects?
I do. Tasking is it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because I have found all sorts of cool stuff in Thug 1. And optimize a lot of things in the process. Like, for example, in the early days, we thought Eric skip, which is the biggest skip known in Tony Hawk, we originally thought it was a mashing trick. Then I discovered, no, that's incorrect. It's actually, you just have to hit Ollie, or the X button, or whatever button you have Ollie set to, on a very specific frame or two, and that's how you get the skip. So after we figured that out, our likelihood of getting the skip shot straight up just by that alone.
Yeah.
Then there was other stuff such as how do specific other skips work, because there's stuff like Daytime Moscow that's double frame per trick, or small optimizations with just the movement. If we go this way, is it faster, and so on and so forth. That stuff I love to do. Like, it's a lot of fun, and I plan on eventually picking up the Thug 2 Classic task again and improving that, because a lot of things have changed and a lot of things are faster. And I also thought about doing maybe a Thaw task and maybe even a THPS4 task at some point. It's just a matter of time, really.
Yeah. No, tasks take a lot of time. For our last video, we talked to someone who does a lot of task work, and he was saying, like, oh yeah, for like a 2-hour game, it can be like an 11-month process of.
Oh yeah.
So if it's a 60 FPS game and it's a long run like that, it can be a real slog to get through everything. Plus, if you find something new, you have to go back and stuff like that. So
yeah, it can be a huge process. Luckily, when I wrote both versions of the Thug 1 static task, pretty much everything was set in stone. It's just between the tasks is that when everything else was discovered, and that's when I added into the second one.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
I wanted to jump in really quick. And this is CJ, it's all good, by the way. I don't think I introduced myself, but just for consistency's sake, and for the interview quality. So you have a really long stretch of world record times, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I think in one summer, it's 19 in 77 days. Like, really remarkable improvement. And I think we touched on it a little bit earlier. Do you attribute it to just people not really running it? I mean, it's now one of the more popular categories, if not the most popular category. So I guess, like, what do you think your impact on the category's expansion is?
So during that stretch, so Tony Hawk games is very, very movement based, and movement is not something you can get quickly. It's something you have to get over a set period of time. Like Rushi, for example, the current record holder of pretty much every category in Thug 1, it took him a solid year of just playing to get good enough to even challenge the world record. So that's about normal. It's just playing the game a lot. And after that, it's almost like riding a bicycle. I go in and out of phases where I play Thug 1 again, and I get close to beating my PB or beating the world record within a couple of days of me derusting. But until you get to that point, it does take a long period of time. And I guess to answer the question more specifically, I think it was, one, it wasn't really ran as often, and two, it was just a matter of optimizing things, because the more people who run a game, the more optimized it's going to be, because you have more eyes, more different ideas of how to do things. And both me and Silent, we thought of things, the other didn't, and we just kind of went back and forth until we optimized even further.
Nice. Yeah. I was going to go with that. I was going to continue with that. Yeah, the competition is always a good thing when you have more than one person.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because it's someone who has run a game by themselves, essentially. It's like, you're trying to run by yourself. you there's things you won't see, and people will point it out at some point. But yeah, there's other stuff.
During the time, Silent was I say Yib and a few others were in there, but they were kind of worried about the other categories. Like Yib was kind of like the master of beginner no warp. TK was like the master of normal no warp, and Silent was kind of the 80% beginner guy for a while. So he was kind of ran almost unopposed. I think there was a few people within a couple minutes, but a couple minutes is a lot, Tony Hawk.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
he was pretty much ran unopposed until me and a few other people came around, and I started challenging his times and developed a little friendly rivalry with him.
In that time period, I had somewhere I wanted to go with this. Oh no, I'm doing a CC. Sorry. In this time period, right? Like you're saying, everyone kind of had their own thing. Oh, I remember. So were you playing the other categories while this kind of streak? I mean, in hindsight, it seems so much more like monumental because it's like crazy time save in like a really condensed period of time. Were you playing the other categories too at the time? Did you have other records during that span?
I think I did dab into normal and I think normal and normal no warp a little bit during that time. I don't think I picked up beginner no warp and sick until much later. Merely because sick, like it looked really hard to me. It still is kind of hard to me because I'm not the greatest like point getter in the Tony Hawk community, and that's a category that points do matter. But I didn't really pick up those until much later on. So it was probably just normal and 80% beginner. And if I got tired of normal or tired of beginner, I just switched to the other.
Did you have records in those other categories? I'm sorry, I might have asked that, but
no, you didn't. I may have, but I don't remember. I don't remember it honestly.
Okay.
I think it was a bit later down the line. Probably towards the. No, it was probably like September timeframe of that year that I actually started going after the other categories because I felt like I had a decent enough time in beginner to do so.
Alrighty. I'm going to go back to being on mute. CC, I hand you the baton.
Thank you. Not just other categories though. You also took world records and participated in other games entirely as well.
Yep.
Like I watched the Silent show. What do you call it? Showcase videos that he did.
Yeah,
and like you had the spat and what do you call it? Fucking I can't remember the name of it. It's Project 8. There we go.
Yeah,
that one. And other games too, but it's pretty crazy that you have like this world record domination in Thug, and at the same time you're also like fighting for world record in other categories too, which very impressive.
Yeah, it's. I think it is. Yeah, not to humble brag about it, but it is really hard. A lot of people are like, a lot of runners have been like one or two trick ponies, mainly in the Tony Hawk Underground 1 or Underground 2 games. And I didn't want to be that. I want to be better I want to be good, if not the best, at all the games. Then I realized that's probably not going to happen to be the best at all the games. I just want to be really good at all of them. That way, if I wanted to go to one or the other, I can just switch pretty quickly. Or if they needed someone to commentate, because I like commentating. So if we needed a commentator for a Tony Hawk run, I should be able to pick it up and explain things pretty well.
Yeah, I think the Tony Hawk series might be one of the best like game or series for crossover, just because while each and every game has a little bit of its own flavor and has its own style and some differences here and there, like they all build on each other, and
yeah, they did.
I think Thug won's the Pro Skater Challenge at the end where it's in Tampa. I think that almost embodies the series, but it's like, hey, you have to do this challenge, get 10,000 points or whatever, and with all these things, and it's like, okay, now get 8,000 points without using these things. It's like, oh, so this is like play as if you were playing the older games, but it's like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's all in the same universe. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say. Like that's my favorite challenge in probably all the Tony Hawk series is that one.
My least favorite one because of how annoying it is.
It's annoying, but I don't know. From a gameplay perspective, I guess I liked it the most. I liked it casual. I don't like it as much now because I've lost a lot of good runs to that challenge, but at the same time, I still respect it for what it was doing. So.
Yeah, from like a designer perspective, I agree with you. It's a great challenge. But like in a speedrun environment perspective, when you're like sitting there trying to do a run and you fuck up and like you have to restart the whole thing, it's like, God damn it.
Yeah, I've lost too many runs to it. I don't want to count. So I know what you.
All right. But okay. So I've been told that you're very, very knowledgeable on how the game works, and I'd imagine you are, being because you looked at it with the task stuff, and whenever you have that like frame by frame analysis, you really get there's a lot of knowledge you can get out of that.
Mhm.
I was hoping you could explain some tricks for me that
Okay.
we could use the explanations in the video. So I asked everybody this so far, and nobody seems to really know how it works. But maybe you'll have a better idea. But can you explain Eric Skip to me as if I had no idea what it was?
So I actually was speaking to a Thug Pro developer not too long ago about this because they have a little bit more access to the source code than we do. But he showed me a little bit of what is going on, and based on what we can tell, it seems to be more or less a cutscene skip. What's supposed to happen is that you are supposed to, do this section with going after the dealers with Eric, but you skip that as if like a cutscene, like some other like goals in the game where you can just skip the last cutscene. But the game gets confused, doesn't know what to do, and just goes to the next step in the process, which is to warp you straight to Manhattan and do the last cutscene of New Jersey.
There you go. So you think it's sort of like in the same vein of all the other ones where you sort of mash Ollie, or not mash, but you press Ollie at the right time and it skips the cutscene.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be. I theorized it for the longest time, but based on what I have seen, it seems to be that way.
Okay.
But it's again, the source code is still weird in a lot of respects. So, but from what me and him can gather, it seems to be the way I just described.
Okay. So how do we know why cutscene skips happened in the first place?
No, it seems to just
Okay.
be a quirk with the thug. I wouldn't say thug engine. It's just the entire engine in general. Is that it's just for whatever reason on this one specific frame, it just allows you to skip that part of the code for whatever reason, and we just don't know why.
That is so weird. If we could
Yeah.
find out exactly what it is, because it seems like it's Ollie, but Rushi was telling me that you can even do Eric skip by stopping sketching. Like if you hit like downriver to stop sketching, and you don't have to jump, you can still do the Eric skip. Is that true?
I haven't seen it myself, so I can't confirm nor deny.
Okay.
So he may have, but that wasn't something I really tasked, and I just don't know what to say about that, honestly.
Okay. Well, we'll leave that, on the table or whatever for later. But okay. While we're at it, can you tell me more about video skip? Like the old version of video skip that you've gotten a couple of times.
So old video skip. Oh man, this is for the longest time. This was a run killer for me. So how old video skip worked was you have so you have it's a 2-frame trick. It's a double frame perfect trick. One frame is you have to cancel out the save box, and the second one is to pretty much to cancel the cutscene going into the video itself. Against double frame perfect, it's not like it's one frame, pause, one frame. It's like one frame, pause, one frame. So it's a little offset of each other. So it's a little difficult to get. But yeah,
Okay.
it's just double frame perfect.
Okay. Let's see here. Do you know why the community emphasis shifted away from normal or from no warp to any percent?
A little bit. So during my long stretch of time that I speedrun the game, a lot of people from outside the community started taking notice of the series. Mainly Thug One as a whole. Mildew, Fives, Shockwave, Emerlin are a few obvious examples. But there was a bunch of other people that have just come by, did a few runs, and left. that wanted to try out the series, they picked up any percent beginner and started doing their own thing with it a little bit, and then their friends started playing a little bit, and then some of their friends even. Then all the other community members probably just got tired of no warp and just decided to do 80% as well and just join in, because we also had a lot of races during that time, and a lot of events going around 80% beginner because that was the most accessible category for everybody.
Okay.
But as a whole as well, it's probably as I said before, it's the shortest category. So people saw that and was probably like, oh, okay, I'll just pick this up and beat it in about 40 minutes and have a good time.
All right. About 40 minutes. Looks at my 53-minute PB. Rest in
Aren't you
peace.
playing on console though?
I'm playing on GameCube right now, yeah.
Yeah, so that plays a factor into it.
Yeah. I have a 50-minute PB on PC, but I don't really like running on PC because I don't like using my Xbox controller because the two triggers don't work.
Yeah, you have to use
Whatever.
one or the other.
Yeah, and that really annoys me.
Yeah.
I think you can I think I can get like a PlayStation 4 controller and it'll work.
Yeah, a bunch of runners in the community use a DS4 controller. That's like one of the coolest thing about the Tony Hawk community is that we kind of allow any controller under the sun as long as it doesn't cheat. Like you can't obviously have a turbo controller.
Yeah.
But
Although you've been
like,
accused of using turbo for your butt slap ability, which apparently
we could talk about that later. But we kind of allow like pretty much anything. I've seen people with PS2, PS3, PS4. I've seen GameCube. I've seen a multitude of other controllers that I can't think of right off the top of my head. Afterglow, Xbox 360 controllers, Xbox One controllers. Pretty much any other like main controller you can think of has been seen in the Tony Hawk games. But as we became more and more mature of a community, we've seen that on my end, the DS4 controller is the best. So, in my opinion, it is. So, it's easy. It's easily. We have a bunch of applications that can easily rebind keys or rebound buttons. Like my setup is set up so that I can use both triggers to spine transfer and Thug One. It has a good D-pad that I can use in all the original Tony Hawk games, like THPS2, THPS3. I can use the D-pad right there, and it works perfectly fine. The control sticks are awesome, so I can play them in all the other Tony Hawk games. And the buttons are pretty easy to mash with as well.
Nice. I don't know. I never owned a PlayStation, so I might have to get a PS4 controller just for Thug.
It's awesome. It's really good.
Can't hurt to have more controllers. I'm a controller freak, so
I have this one I have next to me, and then I have like another spare somewhere in my drawer somewhere that is like still brand new, just in case I wear this one out. Luckily, I haven't yet, but it's always good to have a spare just in case.
Yeah.
Because as you've seen, the Tony Hawk series is very heavy in actions per minute, so we can wear our controllers really fast.
I believe it.
It was one of the SM64 guys that I think has bought like a statistically significant portion of unopened N64 controllers. Like it might be simply they just have like a horde of N64 controllers that are in the box. Like like destroying the market. So I'm gonna put them in my closet. I think it's a really significant number if I remember correctly. It was a really funny anecdote. I guess my question. Sorry to CC, take that baton back. I mean, and maybe this is a little crass, but why have world record?
So one, Drushi is just really good. He's a really good player. Again, he's been playing it for a little bit. Got really good. Started getting consistently good at a bunch of major tricks such as Eric Skip, the hotel butt slap in Hawaii. That's also a big choker for beginner players. But he got really good at a bunch of tricks and started getting really good time and started knocking down his time, getting better movement. So that's one factor. For two, I'm active duty in the military, so I don't really have as much time as I used to. So there's that. Number three, I got that 3351, and that was the first sub 34 in Thug One history. And while I do like world records, I'm also one that is realistic, where I just kind of want major milestones like that. and then I'll be happy. Because if I just play one game forever, I'm just gonna get very it'll feel like it'll get stale after a while, and I kind of want to do other things. Thug 1 for a little bit, I did feel like that way, and then I wanted to do other games as well. People started catching up, went back to Thug 1, but eventually I realized I don't want to really play this game forever. I want to do other things. Like, I'm known as a Tony Hawk guy, but at the same time, there's a bunch of other games I still have on my backlist that I want to play. Like next year, I want to do Hat in Time. I want to do Ocarina of Time again. I want to do Pokemon again. I can't really do that and then also put in all the time I need for Thug 1 because while if you look on my speedrun splits.io time for the game, I have like maybe a couple hundred hours. I probably put in a good like 1,000 to 1,500 hours just to practice or test things.
Yeah.
And that was only in a couple years. Like, I put in too much time in the Thug. And I just don't have that time anymore, really.
That's fair.
You know, it's funny. My friend is in the military as well. He is in the Navy. I won't out him, but he's busy, you know, doing his best guarding a base in Italy, and he hasn't seen a boat yet. You know, on his third year, and yeah, I don't know how he got out of that. I said, man, I'm looking forward to you scrubbing barnacles off the side of a ship for the next 4 years. Dude's living it up, shooting guns in the sand, you know, whatever, having fun with loose Italian women. So your experience must be more indicative of the traditional military experience, because my friend has all the time in the world to get the Thug world record, and he doesn't have the game.
It's more so I'm just I'm like an IT technician, I guess you could say. That's the best way to put it. So I do all sorts of things, computers. Computers are my biggest hobby outside of video games. But I also have my social life. I have other projects going on. I have all sorts of back projects I still don't really want to talk about just yet that I'm working on. And that takes up a lot of time.
Yeah.
For sure. My friend, I always razz him. I'm sorry, we'll get back on track after this. But my friend,
You're good.
he when he's here, his job all through high school and college was that he was a security guard at the mall, right? And I joked with him that he joined the Navy, he'd moved to Italy, and he's still a security guard. He just guards. Instead of guarding watches and purses, now he guards, the base. I said, you're a glorified security guard, and you get paid the same amount. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, one of the things you have to worry about is like combating burnout. You know, like if all you do is spend time on Thug 1, it's like at some point you're going to get sick of it. And,
I've hit a couple barriers like that. I have maybe gone through 3 hiatuses from speedrunning in general, like where I wouldn't even watch speedruns. That's because I just got so burnt out from it all. Because I put so much time and effort into it. I just kind of like, I need to do something else for a bit. This is taking too much time away from me. And then after like 3 to 6 months, I just slowly edge my way back in and like, yeah, I can do this again. But there's a lot of burnout involved, especially with Thug 1. During my early times with getting like sub 36, 35, or I'm sorry, 37, 36, a little bit of 35, I had these long like weeks of stretches where I was trying to get to that next milestone. So I would stream like a good 4 or 5 hours a day for like 3 weeks straight, just trying to get the time. Most of the time was just stuck in New Jersey. And after a while, you just get sick and tired of New Jersey.
Yeah.
So after I got that record, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm out. And then something else gets discovered. I'm like, fucking Christ. Okay, I'm back.
Yeah.
That's happened more times than I want to count either.
Yeah. I'd imagine that happened around the time when Cat Bag was discovered.
So actually that's when I went to Basic was when Cat Bag was discovered. So I didn't really have a chance to challenge the time then. I just kind of let it happen. It was like about a month and a half out. And I was just like, I don't really want to worry about this. I'll just worry about it when I get back.
Yeah. I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because that was like one of the only times I could think of where you That might be the only time you didn't have world record. You know, once
Yeah.
you had it, you got it and stayed with it for a long time, and then you went to basic, and then I think Pokemon Ace took it and Silent Laws, and they kind of squabbled over it for a little bit, and then you came back and you stole it back, and then Pokemon Ace stole it back again.
Yeah, so I saw it back like third or fourth day back home. I was like, I'm playing Thugmon again, and then like third or fourth day back, I got world record. I'm like, it was on Christmas as well, so it just kind of rubbed salt in the wound.
Yeah, we
did
very mention
upset
it
about that.
We do mention it in our script. CJ is particularly proud of the way he wrote that, but
oh god, here we go. I was the Grinch that day.
Yeah, you were definitely the Grinch, and you're a speed bully.
Yeah,
it's that simple. You're a speed bully.
Every time that we do a speed game, we interview a speed bully, and congratulations, you're the speed bully.
Yes. I mean, I was a speed bully to Silent. Like, he would get close to me in a number of categories, and I'm like, no, you can't have it. So I just get further away from him. And then he gets closer again. I'm like, no, you can't have it. So I get better times. It was only during that time when I went to basic that I kind of couldn't, like, I couldn't defend it. So Ace and Silent just took it away from me for a little bit. Then I said, no, you can't have it for a little bit longer. Until Rushi came along and was like, no, you can't have it either. So
yeah. Silent also told me, he was like, yeah, man, every time I got close, he would just move the goalpost a little further away. And every time, couldn't get it, couldn't catch up.
I had infinitely more time than he did, unfortunately. He had a lot of stuff going on between his home life and work. But at that time, I was just preparing to go into military, so I had more time to fuck around and play video games.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I hear you. Okay. I think I'm about out of questions. Well, I guess, okay. What I do want to ask is, do you have anything in particular that you yourself brought to the route? Like, I don't know if there's any tricks that I can attribute to you specifically. Do you know if any?
So optimization of Eric skip was probably my biggest addition.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, it used to be a matching trick. Then I did. I found out it's a one or
you
two.
Brought science and knowledge.
Science, yeah, I brought science to a lot of things. With the wall plant glitch in Hawaii, I found just completely accident. I was just screwing around, just trying to do something with it, and then I realized that the counter incremented in a weird way. And then I think it was TH that figured out the consistent way of doing it. So I kind of discovered it by accident. And it was kind of the same way with the wall plants in San Diego. I actually did you know how you can wall plant it and then hold the combo and it just run into the green part and just keep on going. I kind of discovered that by accident, but didn't think anything of it until TH figured it out as well. So we kind of did. I kind of accidentally discovered he figured out how it worked.
I'd like to thank you for that because I hate the wall plant in the tunnel.
Oh yeah, that one
can suck my dick. I hate that one.
That one's the worst. Outside of that, I actually do not think of any obvious tricks. I probably had maybe a half dozen to a dozen of optimizations for specific goals. But outside of just doing that, those specific things in the tasks, I don't think I brought a whole lot to the table.
Okay. I mean, that's still a lot, and I don't know what to say.
I did find out. Actually, the old way to do vid skip, I discovered that you could actually pause buffer it a little bit. So I kind of made a joke that, we're OOT now.
Pause buffering. Yeah.
Pause buffering. And then Big Law found his way, and I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. I can't have my fun.
If you tried to pause buffer, how many frames could you, I guess,
It was
reason
more
to
so,
pause. Go ahead.
It was more so that, what was it? It was more so that it would cancel out the save window, but then it would be like the very frame after that. So it was kind of like the prelude to the hold A plus start that Big Law found. It just had it as start being both the cancel and the bring up the menus thing. But the problem is if you mash, you might not realize that you got the skip until after you unmashed. I mean, you mashed again, and then it would just start the cutscene anyways. So it was very easy to just mash past it by accident. and miss the trigger entirely.
There you go. Okay, cool. All right, I think I have all the questions that I have to ask. CJ, anything you have?
No, you did a great job, CC, as usual. Packle, you
Thank
were a
you.
great guest. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining us.
Thank you
Of
for your
course, of
time.
course. Well, thank you guys for making the video.
But of course.